Hey everyone, and welcome to your C++ tutorial, which will show an example program using variables and input-output streams. So what I'd like to do is I would like to create a program that prints out, that'll take in a baseball player's name and a couple stats, and then it'll print that information back out. And so I have our C++ or our Visual Studio environment pulled up here with some C++ code. I've copied in the code from the Codiva environment. What I'm going to do now is I'd like to be able to print stuff. We're going to be printing a lot of stuff out, so I'd like to be able to print stuff out without prefixing it with this std namespace here. So to do that, I'm going to write in our using namespace std, and this will make it so that I don't have to prefix my outputs with that std namespace. Okay, so like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, I want to take in some inputs. The inputs that I'd like to take in is a baseball player's name, the number of home runs that they've hit, and their batting average, right? So I'm going to need to create variables to hold that information when the user inputs it. So I will create first the name variable. I'll create a string type variable. We will call it name, and I'll just end it there with a semicolon. Next, I want to record the number of home runs that this player has hit. So I'll create an integer variable. So that's the integer type. Integers obviously can contain numbers. We will call this variable homers. And then I will create a double type variable. And this is going to be for our batting average. We'll call this one batting average. Cool, so I have all my variables ready to go. I just need to write in my inputs and outputs. So let's start by getting rid of this hello Codiva, and we will write in welcome to baseball stat printer, we'll call it. And there's a really helpful little variable in the standard library, or the std namespace. In the standard library, it's a variable called endline, or endl, however you want to refer to it. But what this does is it will create a new line. So when we go welcome to baseball stat printer, if we use endl, it'll start a new line, so the next time we use cout, or if we input something, it'll be on another line. Okay, so we'll also say cout, instead of input, let's say enter your player's name. And I'm just going to leave that as it is so you can see the difference between the ENDL and not. And then, so now we have enter your player's name. Now the user is going to enter their name, right? So what we're going to do to capture the user's input is, we're going to use a getLine. And we know that our getLine takes two parameters, a cin for the input stream and a string variable. We know getLine only works with strings, but we are accepting a string, so that works perfectly. All right, so this will be our, I'll put a little comment in here, and it'll be the getting the player's name. Cool. So now let's get the number of home runs. So I'll say enter your players, we'll just say number of home runs. Cool. And so remember, we can't do a getLine here because getLine only works with strings, and our homers variable is an integer. So for this one, we'll have to use cin, and we will take in our homers. So what this is going to do is it's going to give the user an opportunity to enter in a value, and we're going to capture it in our integer variable type. Cool. And so this will be getting homers. All right. So now we have one last variable to capture here, and that's going to be batting average. So I'll do a cout enter player's batting average. And we'll do a cin again, and we will put the user's entry into our batting average variable. Cool. Now, let's work on our, oh wait, we'll put a little comment here, and we'll say batting average. I actually like just that instead, so we'll do, we have short comments here. Not that it matters, no one's going to read it, but all right, so now we have all of our variables filled. We just need to print them out for our user to see. So we'll say here are your players' stats. And I'm going to follow that with an end line. I'm going to print out, we'll say homers, and then we'll print out homers with an end line. And so this is going to print out the text homers and then our user's entry for homers. Then we're going to print out, actually we should start with name. That would make more sense. So I'm going to do a quick copy and paste job there. Do name, follow with an end line. And then we have our homers. And then we're going to do, we'll just say average here. And we'll give our batting average, print that out, end line, great. Okay, so just to review our program here, we've got our variables that are going to contain all of our user input. We're going to print out welcome to Baseball Stat Printer. Let's actually make this a little fancy. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Okay, so we'll do welcome to Baseball Stat Printer. We're going to do enter your player's name, and we're going to take in a name, the user input of a name, and then we're going to say enter your number of home runs. We're going to take in the input of an integer for home runs, and then we're going to say enter the player's batting average. Since the batting average is a decimal value, we're going to use a double here to contain the decimal value, and then at the end we print it all out. Perfect. So let's go to our terminal here and let's compile it. We use our G++ compiler. The name of this C++ file is test.cpp. So we'll compile that there. Okay, it completed, so we don't have any errors. And we know that it generated this a.out file, so let's run that. Welcome to Baseball Stat Printer. So let's enter your player's name. All right, I want to say Jim Thome. Oh, I actually wrote John Thome. Perfect. Enter the number of home runs. We'll say 400. Enter the player's batting average. We'll say 762.762. And here are your player stats. Name, John Tomey. Homers, 400. Average, 762. Awesome. So there you have it. This is a quick sort of example of how you can use variables and input-output streams together. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope it's been helpful to you on how these two things work together. Thanks.